If you're an ADHD woman who masks through overfunctioning and high achievement, then this is for you. Here's the deal. Our little girl selves somehow figured out that if we overfunction, like tried really, really hard, that we could do well and actually get good grades and awards and achievement. And that in turn, number one, didn't make us feel as bad about ourselves because the way our brains naturally were, even if we didn't know we had ADHD, isn't exactly how society wanted us to be. And perhaps we still got criticism or correction for the way that our ADHD did show up. So our little girl selves figured, like, oh, subconsciously, not thinking about it, like, oh, if I just push really hard, work really hard, maybe a hard worker and do all this stuff and over function, then I can get everything done. And then you achieved highly. And that works really great until you get to a time when you're too tired to keep doing it, especially when you hit perimenopause, because then your energy shifts in a way that is different than you may have experienced before with the drop in estrogen that happens during this time. But what I want to talk about is the other thing that happens for ADHD women entrepreneurs is once you no longer are in school, once you no longer have a job, there isn't that external validation. There isn't that external feedback the same way. There aren't awards. There's not a raise coming from an employer. You don't get an annual review. And so you stop getting all of this positive external feedback about how great you're doing given all your overfunctioning. So then what happens is you might still be doing all this overfunctioning, but you're not getting the same return that you were getting. And I'm not saying we do it for the praise or that's why any of us were doing it, but that definitely helped be like, okay, at least it's worth it. I get raises or I'm getting promoted. Or when you were younger, oh, I got A's or I graduated 10th in my class or whatever it is, it kind of fueled it. But then when you're an entrepreneur and you're in business for yourself, you get very little external feedback. You get people to buy from you or not buy from you. You don't always know why they choose to not buy from you. You may eventually get likes or comments on your podcast or whatever else you have. But the days of outward achievement go away as you're an entrepreneur. Unless, of course, you apply for one of those awards to be like, they have the Minneapolis St. Paul magazine, at least they did recently, and you could be like Entrepreneur of the Year or something like that. But like generally speaking, there aren't those kind of things. And so it's like, what do you do? Because you're putting in all this effort, doing all this over functioning, and now you're not even getting the achievement that like feedback that you used to get. So I've got a couple things. One, the over functioning isn't going to work. It just doesn't work long term, especially as we age. And listen, I am not someone that ever likes to use the OLD word. I refuse to say that I am because I believe that what we say to ourselves matters. I refuse to say that this is because I'm that, right? And what is also true is I am aware that I do not have as much energy as I did when I was 25. I just don't, even though I still take really good care of myself. I exercise every day. I eat nutrient dense food. I get more sleep than I did at 25, right? It's just our energy level changes. And certainly I'm in perimenopause, so that's a piece of it. But the reality is, we don't have the same level of energy, no matter how good we take care of ourselves as we age. So that all that over functioning, we get into burnout really quickly. And then we're not even getting any kind of accolades for all that effort. So this way of masking ADHD, this way of being with ADHD is just not effective anymore. So part one, to stop the over functioning, it's essential to figure out what is exactly important, like what is actually important for you to do. And to figure that out, you have to be really clear on your vision. What is it that you want to do? Get really clear on your vision and focus on And then everything else is just a distraction. And if you're afraid to let it go completely, put it on a list somewhere that's like my list of distractions that are for not right now. But to really focus on your vision and then focus on the tasks that get you there the quickest, the simplest, easiest way possible. And everything else is just a distraction. That is how you stop overfunctioning. You also stop overfunctioning by no longer doing things for people that they can do for themselves. Listen, I get it. If you're a mom, understand that you want to help your kid. And I know how much you love those kiddos and really want to help them have lovely lives. And what I know to be one of the best things you can do for your kids is help them learn how to do things for themselves as they're able. Kids are, first of all, they love to be able to learn new things. They're like little sponges. And especially if you start them young, getting to do things for themselves, it's fun for them. And then they develop those good habits so that by the time they're an adult, it's not a struggle for them to fold their laundry, or at least not as much, right? It's not as much of a struggle to clean. It's not as much of a struggle to wash the dishes, whatever else it is. So some of it is finding ways to give back tasks that you've been doing for people that they can do for themselves. And I'm not saying this is easy and I'm not saying it is fun necessarily right away, especially if people have been benefiting from you doing those things. But this is true of all of us, whether we have employees or team members that we do stuff for or other people. That doesn't mean we can't be giving and loving and choose to do things. And I also suspect that if you're a woman, because of the whole caring mandate thing that Soraya Kamali talks about in her book, Rage Becomes Her, a lot of us tend to do a lot of caretaking. We do things for other people that they could actually be doing for themselves and don't need us to do and may actually serve them better if they do. So if you are wanting to stop overfunctioning, another piece of it is going to be taking an honest look at all the things that are on your list and figuring out what is actually a priority and what of that needs to be done by you. Another piece of this to be able to handle the, I don't want to say lack, but kind of lack of external validation or accolades is to find a way to celebrate your progress. And I'm not just saying your progress once you have your first 10 clients or once you make 100,000 a year, but to celebrate progress along the way. It's really important to celebrate those small wins because that gives you, it's like, oh, yeah, I did do that. Because in the face of the negative feedback we can get, like people not being responsive, people not buying things, or people even saying unkind things, it's important that we also see the amazing stuff we are doing. So I'm going to tell you what I do for this. I have a separate journal, and every single night I write down 3 things that were wins from the day, 3 things that I'm excited about, 3 things that I'm like, yes, did it. And they can be to-do list items. They can be reflecting items. It doesn't have to be a task, but to really write down the wins. It could be a mindset shift I noticed that I made or stuck with or something. So that is a way to start to get out of that cycle of being dependent on that external feedback, is to really build that, like, yes, it does feel good when I'm able to notice my own wins and self-validate. So those are some ideas to find something different than the over functioning high achievement maps that you may still be wearing or may still pop up from time to time. I'd love to hear your comments on this, so make sure you comment below on the video. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for being here. Take care.